Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Studio 78 podcast. Really excited about this. I am your host, Nache, from NacheSnow.com. That's Nache, like nacho, but an E instead of a O, and snow, like the snow that falls from the sky. Hope you guys like that intro. Tried to pick something that'll kind of like make you move a little bit. It's so funny, like people who know me know that I love Adele and Leon Bridges, but those type of songs don't make for good intros. So I hope you guys like the one I picked. Anyway, what is this podcast about and who am I? So some of you guys might know me from the Can I Park Here podcast that I host with my really good friend and fiber artist, Estrell Riles. And we basically talk or interview mobile boutique owners or fashion truck owners about how they started their business so then they can teach other people who are trying to do the same thing. And we go over business tips and everything you would need to know about that industry. We've even had people on there that have brick and mortar stores too. So I know some of you guys are coming from there. So thank you. I appreciate the support. This podcast is a little different. So I want this podcast to really be about helping people figure out like how they bring their passions to light and how they share it with others. And I want them to do it through good design because I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I'm a designer by trade. And also with like the right mindset, you have to like believe in yourself. You have to really, know what you want and go after it. And then also I want to give you guys like what you need in order to make it happen. All the resources, be it software or other business type tools, products, you name it. So I want this podcast to be a little bit of everything, but inspire you to do what you love. And then kind of mixed in there too is going to be a lot of randomness because I'm an oversharer. Okay. And let me just put that out there. So if I hear about something, find out about a new product, anything, it might not even be related to design. I'm just going to share it because I just like doing it. So bear with me. Most people like it because then they find out about products they never heard of. I listen to a ridiculous number of podcasts. I used to read a lot of blogs. I don't read as much anymore because I don't have time. And then every once in a while, I'll read a good book. I'm based in the DC area, but like if I ever fly to the West Coast, like to me, that's the perfect time to read because I'm like in this little box, right, for like 5 hours. And so it kind of forces me to just power through like a really good book. So anyway, so who am I and why should you listen? Okay. So I already told you guys my name is Nache. And so I do have a 9-to-5 job where I started as a graphic designer and now I manage like a large number of graphic designers, but I keep that completely separate from what I do. And I think a lot of you guys are out there too, where you are I call like them night and weekend hustlers, where you're just doing something you love. Like you don't have to do it because you have maybe a 9-to-5 that you love, or you might not love, that will pay the bills. But then you have like this other thing that you like to do. And so I'm like one of those people who have a 9-to-5 or work with a great group of people, but I just love doing a lot of stuff. So my nights and weekends are filled with kind of personal projects that mean a lot to me. And so I already told you guys about the fashion trucks. And I'm going to have Estrell on, so, I'm not going to go too much into it, but we've built a really good community. We have a private Facebook group that has I think it's like over 1,500 people now. And this is just us doing it on our free time because my friend has a 9-to-5 too. And so we'll get into that because I think a lot of people want to know about building communities. So I'll have a future episode on that. And then every once in a while, I also blog about just tall clothes. So I am 6'1". I am really tall. And not, you know what? I wouldn't even say I'm really tall because I just went to this amazing tall event and I was like the shortest person there because all the women were like 6'4" and 6'5". And so when I find things, like I told you guys, I'm an overshare. I actually share it to that blog, talllook.com. If you happen to be a tall woman, go over there. And then I make stuff. I'm a maker, and I make stuff over at Creative Route, and I hand make laser cut goods, and I go to a maker space like 2 times a week usually, and just kind of make light switch plates or other home decor items. And now I'm starting this project, NacheSnow.com, because all of the things that I mention are very niche. And I don't really get to just talk to people about what I love, which is design, business, and having the right mindset to go after what you want. And so I know you're kind of thinking right now, like you said you had a 9 to 5, like how do you find time for all of these things? And I'll tell you, it's really like planning your time. And I will get into that more. And so I know maybe some of you guys are asking, like, oh, does she have kids? I do not have kids. However, I know a lot of people who have multiple children who also make time to do what they love. So I know it's possible. Know that if you're, have 2 or 3 kids and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to get back to my painting or get back to this kind of idea I have for this charity or whatever, it is possible. I've seen it. I know people who've done it, and I'm going to try to have guests on here that will prove that. But anywho, know that I am into a lot of things, but because I've learned a lot from people, and that's what I'm going to be sharing here. I'm going to have a lot of solo episodes where I talk about life lessons and lessons learned, where I share what's working and what's not working with NacheSnow.com. So maybe you can apply that to your business too. And I'm also going to, give you just tips on making time for your passions. Like, I mentioned all these things that I'm a part of, but no, through the years, I've also made time to just discover what I love. I've taken ceramic classes, I've taken jewelry classes, I've taken sewing classes, I've taken painting classes. And I think sometimes when people do that, they get labeled as being like all over the place. But really, I am very focused and very driven. It's just like I like a lot of things, and I don't like people telling me I can't do a lot of things. So make sure that people don't, make sure that people don't stop you from doing what you love. And no, there is a balance because you can get overwhelmed, and not everybody is really good at balancing all those things. And sometimes it takes practice. And also, it's an art knowing when to say no to things too. And I'll get into that in some future episodes of when I've had to let go of projects. For example, Creative Route wasn't always laser cut home goods. Like I actually used to create websites for people and have graphic design, like basically a graphic design service where I freelanced on nights and weekends. But I just found that actually doing that wasn't really a passion for me anymore. It was more like letting people know what good design is, art directing, or leading people in the right direction is kind of where my passion lied versus like actually creating a product for them. And so there was a point where I had to make that decision. Know that, I will get into all that. And actually, I encourage you guys, like if you have anything that you want me to cover or anything that you are battling with, please head over to NacheSnow.com, NacheSnow.com/contact. And on that page, you can like write in a question. My direct email address is hello@NacheSnow.com. But either way, you can get me and I will mention your comment on the podcast and answer your questions. So this podcast, And that's a little bit about me. The only other thing I'll say is I've always been a creative person, even in elementary school. My mom is a very creative person. I would consider her a maker too. We used to make, t-shirts and like jewelry and all that stuff. So as long as I can remember, I've always had the love of making stuff. Even through school, like the classes that I excelled at the most were the things that were creative. They were creative courses. And that is throughout like elementary school. I've gone to get my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, and both of them were related in what I love. Like even my bachelor's was mass communication, and so I had like a major in or a concentration in photography and design. And then when I got my master's, I actually got it in publication design, but the courses I took were primarily I took like some web design courses and then also like a lot of design, just graphic design courses too. But I loved it because it was my passion, it's design. So when I tell you, like, I've always had the love for that and the business side, I took like, while I was in my master's program, I took business courses too. I just love it. And so that's a little bit about me. I don't want to bore you guys too much, but I just wanted to let you guys know that you are talking to someone that is probably considered highly creative. However, if you do not have a design background, I want to be the one to tell you that you do not need a design background to make sure that you have like a good brand. And so I'll have some courses and worksheets and all of that good stuff on my website to help you, even if you don't think you have a creative bone in your body, I will help you determine like what your style is, what your colors should be, how you should tell your story visually. It's just learned, like, you learn to just pick up those patterns even though you're not a creative person, or even though you don't think you're a creative person, because really everyone is a creative person, or just creativity is displayed in different ways. So know that I'll be here to help you with that. And even as you work with designers, like, I hope by listening to me or seeing my content online that you will be able to pick good designers, because what I see a lot out here is sometimes people pick really bad designers that charge a lot of money to do really bad work. And I feel like designers should get paid for the work they do, but you just need to make sure you pick the good ones. And so I think as I show you the trends and talk about good design, I'm hoping that that will influence your style a little bit. I will leave you with this, for this intro episode. Think of this podcast as, and the website as, a resource to fuel your, like, resources to fuel your passion. Essentially, I am going to not only personally be talking about my personal struggles and stories with business and visually trying to tell my story, but I'm also going to have friends and strangers on here that I admire, and I'm going to have them tell you about their struggles. And those interviews will probably mainly focus, especially the one from strangers, on strangers. That sounds so funny. Like, don't talk to strangers. But anyway, I really am going to have them on here to talk about like the lessons learned for their businesses, like things that worked, things that didn't work, and why they've chosen to do what they've done. And it's going to be people who maybe are doing what they love, as their 9 to 5, and other people, they're going to be just folks that are kind of like me, who have a passion or love for what they're doing, but they have chosen to still keep a job and do it on their nights and weekends. And that's like a whole other podcast about, even when do you determine if you should quit a job? I was actually on another podcast, The Spirit of 608, with Estrell, and we talked a lot about that because I think there is a huge trend right now of like, oh, just quit your job and just like live your dreams and, everything will work out. When it's just like, whoa, 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 make sure you have a plan first, and make sure you're going to be able to eat. And there's this thing called like what I consider like calculated risk. And for people who just risk it all and just don't care or are so miserable in their job, they're like, whatever. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But my philosophy is keep your job. Work on what you love on your nights and weekends. If it then takes off or you get some momentum or you've saved enough money, then you make that jump. It's just smart and calculated, because what you might find is there's a balance, and there's people out there who do balance both. And so I think it's just you figuring out what makes sense for you or you and your family or whoever. So anywho, I will leave you with that. I hope you continue to listen to the podcast. And as a new podcast, I ask you to please rate me 5 stars on iTunes, because that's the way you get kind of picked up and that's the way they feature you. And I really will try my hardest to give you the very best content. And by you reaching out to me, telling me what you want, I think that I can make sure, I can ensure that that happens. So I look forward to talking to you more. Know that even though I didn't laugh too much on this podcast, I am a goofball and I do have like a really weird laugh. So just wait for it. Be ready to turn down your volume. And I will talk to you guys again on the official episode 1, since this is the intro. Talk to you later, and follow me on all of my social media. So it's just Nache Snow everywhere, because I'm starting from scratch. I have social media from every place else, but I am now starting from zero, which is scary. So you guys, I think, will be able to see my growth, and I can also share what tactics work and don't work as I'm trying to now build a new audience. All right, talk to you later. Bye.